of 1943 changed his trajectory of Swaminathan's life. He changed his courses from becoming a doctor to being an agriculturalist, much against the desire of his parents. After completion of his zoology graduation from Trivandrum, he pursued his graduation in agriculture from Tamil Nadu, IARI, and several universities of Wisconsin and became stepping stones to an illustrious career in agriculture. I would now request the team to play a video shared by Dinesh Lakhanpal to show the insights of Swaminathan sirs and his contribution to nation. So here shared us the video.
The situation was grim and drastic solutions had to be found to control it. It was decided to do a recce of the seas in the country's vicinity to find out how many American ships carrying food grain were within approaching distance. The idea was to appeal to the President of the United States to divert these ships to India if the concerned countries could wait a few weeks for the grain. India had been a land of frequent famines and famine deaths. The Great Bengal Famine of 1942-43, which killed 30 million contributors, was fresh in the memory of independent India. India had been importing food ever since, and the import rose to 10 million tons in 1966, when the country produced only 62 million tons of grain. In 1965, Lal Bahadur Shastri, India's second Prime Minister, appealed to the countrymen to forego at least one meal a week and grow a kitchen garden in every house, including on the terraces. At about the same time, Chaudhry Ramdhan Singh and Dhaniram Vasudeva had been researching wheat production untiringly in Punjab and had created many wheat varieties which were pest resistant and had excellent chapati making qualities. However, these varieties were low yielding and inadequate to meet the rapidly escalating Indian food crisis. Hence, a group of Indian scientists at Pusa Institute, led by its then director, Dr. B.P. Pal, were frantically searching for alternative varieties that would possess the ability to provide a high yield under an improved agronomy. One of the young scientists in his team, M.S. Swaminathan, had gained some experience of developing the hybrid Indo-Japonica varieties of rice at the Central Rice Research Institute, Cuttack. Dr. Pal asked him to apply his knowledge towards finding an alternative variety of wheat. A defining moment in this search came when he learned about the availability of Norin-10 dwarf gene, available with Dr. Orville Vogel in Washington State University, and the breakthrough he had created in USA with Gaines, a dwarf winter wheat variety.
Dwarf wheat really was found in Japan at a station called Norin Experiment Station by a Japanese scientist, Inozoku Guziana. He is the man who, Gonziro Inizuko, he identified the short varieties of called Norin 10. Dr. Vogel converted it into a variety called Gaines. Gaines is still holding the world record in wheat production. But Gaines, I wrote to Dr. Vogel for seeds of Gaines in 1957-58. Then he wrote to me that his wheat is a winter wheat. That means it won't flower under our conditions. It requires long number of hours of sunlight, 13, 14 hours of sunlight, which we don't have during our winter. Therefore, he suggested that you write to Dr. Norman Borlaug.
Dr. Borlaug was working as geneticist and plant pathologist on a joint wheat research and production program between the Rockefeller Foundation and the Mexican government at the summit. He was breeding wheat varieties resistant to different types of rusts.
In the state of Washington, Dr. Vogel had incorporated those genes into tall winter wheats and reduced their height, and they were serving a useful purpose in the state of Washington, USA, earlier than our spring wheats here. As a matter of fact, the genetic stock that I started with came from Dr. Vogel's, but we incorporated them into the spring wheat.
So I wrote to Borlaug, 1959 or 60, and asked him whether can you give the material. He said, why don't I first come to your country, see your growing conditions, and then I can make up a set of material for you. But I was a junior man. It took about 2 years to get the invitation sent to him. It had to go to head of division to director to some undersecretary in the ministry. Finally, they asked, why do you want this man? Because he was not famous at that time. Don't we know what he is doing? We can ourselves do it.
Thus, it was in 1961-62 that the Indian Wheat Improvement Program, with the help of USDA, received the few dwarf spring varieties from Dr. Borlaug under the International Wheat Rust Nursery Program of CIMMYT. The seeds were just about sufficient for planting an acre, but when the consignment reached the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, even that much suitable land was not available, except a field just vacated by sugarcane under Agronomy Division. This is where the seeds of the Green Revolution were sown. These seeds produced an excellent disease-free crop with profuse and synchronous tillering and heavy yield. The scientists involved in the experiment were beside themselves with joy and excitement. Dr. Swaminathan and other scientists were convinced of the potential of the dwarf wheat. When Dr. Borlaug finally landed in India in 1963, he visited various Indian locations such as the Pusa Institute and the agricultural universities in Ludhiana, Kanpur and Pantnagar, where different varieties of dwarf wheat were under scientific evaluation and field trials. But the way forward for the new varieties from Pusa was not that easy.
So 1963-64, it went according to our sowing. 64 April, it was a beautiful crops. Even in the Pusa Institute, our institute farm, all came to see me. Students, everybody saw this kind of crop. Then gave a proposal for a national demonstration, verifying what we are seeing in farmers' field. Then the ministry was not taking interest. Fortunately, I think in July or so, Lal Bahadur Shastri appointed C. Subramaniam, Bharat Ratna Subramaniam as minister. He took a meeting. We asked, Dr. B.P. Paul was then the director. I was the head of the what was called botany division. We were all taken to Krishi Bhavan, and in a conference room, the minister went. He was a very good listener. Went one by one. What is your feeling? What is your suggestion? How can we overcome our present ship-to-mouth existence? We are having ships all the time to feed our people. It's shameful, he said. Then when it came to my sentence, I said, sir, I have got a program called 5 years of dwarf wheats. 1 year is over. The 1 year has gone along the lines we wanted. If you can allow us to have 500, 1,000 demonstrations in farmers' fields, I want 500 rupees per demonstration just to provide the seeds, fertilizer and so on. He said, what is coming in the way? I said, you better ask your ministry what is coming in the way. But I must say to his credit, the next day the approval came.
In Delhi, 3 farmers, one from Jaunti village in Kanjavala block, another from Montgomery farm, one Mahinder Pal Singh, and the third from Najafgarh block, joined the demonstrations.
Jaunti से Green Revolution शुरू हुआ है, and I took very active part in that. और ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन से जो चेंज आया है 50 साल पहले, आपने भी देखा होगा, एक गेहूँ आता था ऑस्ट्रेलिया से, वो खाने के काबिल नहीं था, अगर देखने में भी ऐसा था कि इसका आटा खाओ।
जौनती में पंजाब और दूर दूर की स्टेट से यहाँ सीड लेने आए और हमारे गांव से वो सीड खरीद कर देंगे 100 रुपये किलो भी, 10-20 रुपये किलो, 40 रुपये किलो, 100 रुपये के केजी तक भी पंजाब का किसान यहाँ से गेहूँ ले गया।
इसी खेती में 1000 11 मन गेहूँ होता था, सारा घर फुल भर जाता था ऊपर से नीचे तक।
Then Lal Bahadur Shastri became was the Prime Minister. So he said, he telephoned Director Paul and said, I want to come and see the dwarf fields. So he came and I took him round the field. And there's a beautiful photograph where I look very tall. And then he said, what is coming in the way? We must import some quantities of seeds because people are clamoring for seed. So he approved 18,000 tons of import from free foreign exchange.
The government allotted Kandla port in Gujarat for unloading the seed cargo. Unfortunately, this port was too busy in unloading imported fertilizers, and most of the berths were already occupied or blocked for these.
But even with all our efforts, I must say it was getting late, and the officers from the state governments were clamoring that they should be given priority, etc. And particularly for states in the south, that is Maharashtra and Karnataka, though the wheat areas become less and less as you go south, but still they were important states. Maharashtra particularly, it was getting late, but we had a very dynamic officer in Maharashtra, Agriculture Secretary Faith, and he said he will remove the seeds in the ocean from trawler without waiting for the ship to reach Kandla. So when it was caught like float in the mid-ocean, the seeds intended for Maharashtra and Karnataka were removed by trawlers and brought to Bombay, and from there further distribution was taken up.
All ended well, and the seeds reached the farmers right in time.
Not everybody thought that they are doing right. There were quite a bit of opposition. Traditional bureaucrats, they were thinking that foreign exchange is being wasted. For the first time in the world, so much planting seed was transported from one country to other.
By 1971, the production had achieved 250% growth, and the productivity had soared 66% higher. This made substantial changes in the availability of domestically produced grain and eliminated food grain import from 1968.
So for the first time, what we call the Green Revolution symphony, everyone, the violinists, everybody playing their own part, but all together to create a symphony came in. And that had immediately dramatic effect. After all, between 1964 and 68, we increased wheat production by an order higher than the previous 4,000 years. From Mohenjo-daro to 1946-47, we produced 6 million tons of wheat. Between 1964 to 68, we increased wheat production by 7 million tons. That means the order of increase was more than 4,000 years. And that can be achieved. That can be achieved if there is a synergy between science, public policy, and farmers' enthusiasm. Ultimately, we forget that farmers are the ones who produce the food. Scientists are there only to help them. I am not directly plowing the field and producing food. It is the farm men and women who do it.
These were words of someone that I didn't know, had no contact with. In 1970s, I think it was April 8th of 78. There was a small conference in Washington, D.C., chaired by William Dowd, the administrator for U.S. aid. Funds had been used by aid in India, but I had never met the people who were involved. At this conference was where the term Green Revolution was first used. It was a small meeting with only about 35 people. And he started the meeting by saying, 6 months ago, we had a similar meeting, and I told you things were beginning to happen. Now, I can say there's been dramatic change. And he said, a green revolution is taking place. It's not a red revolution like the Soviet, nor a white revolution like the Shah of Iran. It's a green revolution based on science and technology.
But let's return to the 1960s for a bit. Food sufficiency from a domestic harvest made a huge difference to India, politically and economically. Its self-assurance and self-esteem among the community of nations took a quantum jump. It reflected also in the nation's domestic and foreign policies on other sectors. An India dependent on USA for food aid could neither have successfully fought the Pakistan War in 1971 nor attempted the Pokhran nuclear implosion in 1974. 1978-79, the Green Revolution resulted in a record grain output of 131 million tons, which made India one of the biggest agricultural producers in the world. In 1995, India jumped from its fourth rank to become the second largest producer of wheat.
The inspiration of the Green Revolution is very powerful and very important because it is about attention, a priority, political priority, an economic priority, a priority in terms of investments, in infrastructure, in training, in technology, in water, etc., etc.
Naturally, we all understood that the Green Revolution had also some negative elements in the overuse of inputs, pesticides and fertilizers in particular, and their impact on the environment. And these had to be addressed.
Such consequences were not unexpected. In fact, a timely warning on improper use of Green Revolution technology was sent out by Dr. Swaminathan himself in 1968 from the podium of the Agriculture Science section of the Indian Science Congress held at Varanasi from the 3rd to the 7th of January 1968. Dr. Swaminathan had warned, exploitative agriculture offers great dangers if carried out with only an immediate profit or production motive. The emerging exploitative farming community in India should become aware of this. Intensive cultivation of land without conservation of soil fertility and soil structure would lead ultimately to springing up of deserts. Irrigation without arrangements for drainage would result in soil getting alkaline or saline. Indiscriminate use of pesticides, fungicides and herbicides could cause adverse changes in biological balance as well as lead to an increase in cancer and other diseases through the toxic residues present in grains or other edible parts. Unfortunately, this warning went unheeded and unsung. The roadmap for future agricultural advancement in India has to be centered around small farms with a goal of increasing productivity in perpetuity without ecological harm. Dr. Swaminathan terms this agricultural pathway as the evergreen revolution. But a revolution has to be nurtured with the life-giving support of the right policies as well as decent infrastructure. Even as the descendants of the original experimenter from the Jaunti village toil in their field, the adjoining field witnesses its crop rotting away for lack of infrastructural and policy support, driving home a disturbing irony. Agriculture goes wrong in India. Nothing else will have a chance to go right.
The agricultural green revolution led by many people, but especially Professor Swaminathan, who is so widely respected around the world for his both spiritual and intellectual and operational commitment to see that people are fed and don't starve. You know, when you combine a great intellect with a strong work ethic and a wonderful heart, great things can happen.
Is despite this knowledge, despite his, what I would call grandness, to see his humility.
His legacy is not only his very well-known achievements in dealing with food security and dealing with agricultural production and enhancement of that, but it's even more, or it's his ability to inspire, because for him, human dignity is the ultimate goal.
Swaminathan is no longer just a citizen of India. He is an asset of the world.
I remember one time when it must have been in 1966, after the first import of 200 tons, Swaminathan and I, after we visited, we went to see her, and she said, "What's happening on the land?" She said, "I go down to the Lok Sabha to discuss food and agriculture. And one group says, this is the biggest fraud, the biggest waste of effort, this new wheat thing. Others are saying, look, this is going to change things." She said, "What is the truth?" To Swaminathan, we said, "It's moving. Give us 3 or 4 years." He could get to them at the right time. And that is basic to his extreme success.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have gathered here to pay honor to a stellar human being whose life's work has changed the course of history. Swaminathan is amongst the few geneticists with heart devoted to conservation of biodiversity for future food nutrition security. He has played a crucial role in the cryopreservation of seeds and propagules at Svalbard Global Seed Vault. His major focus in the last decade has been on achieving a world without hunger. His farming system for nutrition has addressed nutritional maladies, and it involves cultivation of plant species specifically rich in one or more micronutrients. Swaminathan belongs to the class of scientists who left an indelible mark in the agricultural landscape. He was a kind, humble, and compassionate human. He left an impression in the hearts of people whoever he met. He has left behind memories that gives us a glimpse of who he was. By sharing our thoughts and memories of him today, I would now like to call upon Dr. M.J. Khan, Chairman, ICFA, to deliberate his insights and his affiliations of Agriculture Today with him. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all. As we know, Professor Swaminathan breathed his last on 28th of September 2023. It's a loss to the world, loss to India, and loss to everyone engaged with agriculture, food, and every farmer and every person ordinary, because the food security that is ensured, what has been shown just now, it would not have been possible without the role that Professor Swaminathan played, of course, along with the support of Professor Norman Borlaug and some policymakers in India, which in this film have been shown. This is a great loss to our efforts and to me individually, because the year 1997 I met him first time. I still recall the year 1996. Somehow I got the appointment with him. He was staying at India International Center. By the time I reached, there were two very long imported cars. So I saw one man entering into that. I could recognize Professor Swaminathan. He looked at me. He said, "Can you follow me?" I followed to him, and he was going to JNU in Institute of Mass Communication. I reached there. There was he stayed, went to the dais, and after that he said, "Can you follow me?" I again followed him to the India International Center. By the time I reached his room, I saw many people with coat and tie, some very important persons sitting there. So I thought, bad luck, let me try next time. So after a few months I was in Hyderabad. I recall that AP Agriculture University, there was some function by the faculty. So that day we had, I was fortunate, we had a good discussion over dinner. And subsequently, since then, till I met him last, and that was also a very big coincidence that 28 September 2022, I met him the last time at his residence in Chennai, and exactly after 1 year, 28 September 2023, last day. So a journey of 25 years has been very close support, cooperation, and his company in almost everything that I attempted in these 25 years. Dr. Chadda is here, he knows well that, and Dr. R.B. Singh, both. Professors, if we talk about contribution, I think already we have seen it, but from our perspective, so that 1997 we met first time, and year 99 we were having a members of parliament conference on farmers agenda, and he happened to be in Delhi. He joined. That was the first time that we had his presence at our program. But after that, almost every time we planned something, somehow by coincidence or his own planning, we were fortunate to have him in almost all of our programs. 2004, 5, 6, and then I remember Dr. Chadda, your program in PAU. Me and Swaminathan sir were returning by train. So on the way we discussed about Agriculture Leadership Summit. We said, Apex program in agriculture, which brings all the key stakeholders on board, that we need to conceptualize. So on the way we finalized all the details. And subsequently, when we launched it 2008, the first agriculture leadership program, so Professor Swaminathan himself was the chair of the summit committee, and of course the awards committee, the Governor Haryana. Next year, Governor Haryana, Kidwai Sahab tenure was over, so Professor Swaminathan also took over as the chair of the jury. So since then till 2018, there was no program which Professor Swaminathan missed. Importantly, and there is another incident, in 2018 we were having Agro World, and part of that was Agriculture Leadership Summit. We thought club it to have more people. Instead of traveling twice, we should have part of that. So Professor Swaminathan came, and I recall Secretary Agriculture Sanjay Agrawal Sahab, he had just taken over 15-20 days back. He came, he touched his feet, and then in a tone of complaining, he said, "Sir, I was expecting you in our program because Prime Minister's office made it conditional. That is, Professor Swaminathan is coming in that program, then Prime Minister may come." So we tried our best. So what he said, my health is not good, and since I have been participating in this program from the very first, so I have come here, and maybe it is my last visit to Delhi, and it so happened that this was his last visit to Delhi. In between, there are many instances that how closely we worked on different programs, including we conceptualized that World Agriculture Award, and in fact Professor Swaminathan himself happened to be the first recipient of that. Subsequently, it had to be biannual program, but COVID and problems, so we could not resume that. Probably this year we intend to resume that. I recall that there was jury, a 14-member jury, in that only 3 were from India and 11 were outsiders, from other countries. Professor Swaminathan got 9 votes. President Obama for Feed the Future program, he got 3, and Professor Longping of China, the father of hybrid rice, he got 1. Also linked to Professor Longping is a story. I went to Changsha. There was a FAO's global meeting on some policy planning, so we were invited in that. So after 2 days, there was a field trip to the village of Mautse. So on the way, we had to stop over that International Hybrid Rice Center, which is named after Professor Yuan Longping only. So Professor Longping first told that the title of him, father of hybrid rice, was given by Professor Swaminathan himself in a conference in Bangkok when he was DG of IRI. So later, when we were walking through the, that gallery, photo gallery, I saw that photo there. In that Bangkok's that conference photo, and in that it is written that Professor Swaminathan, his address, he, gave me this title of father of hybrid rice. So many roles that at global level I still recall. Once I was in Des Moines, that World Food Summit. Of course, next week I'm again there. Ex-president of Nigeria, I forget her name. So she was sitting next to me in the front row, and Chelsea Clinton was addressing. So when I introduced to that lady, so she said, "Oh, you are from India, you know Professor Swaminathan." So I said, "He is sitting 2 chairs next to you." So she got up and half bent, she talked 10 minutes to Professor Swaminathan. So that kind of respect Professor enjoyed the world over. And I think next year we were again there, and I recall that by morning flight from Des Moines, we came to Washington, D.C., and I was staying with Ambassador Islam Siddiqui, who was agriculture advisor to President Obama. So Professor was coming by the evening flight, so both of us decided to go to the airport, and in the US you can still enter up to that conveyor belt without having the ticket. So we went to that conveyor belt. We were waiting for Professor to come. I saw the Secretary Vilsack coming. He's again Secretary Agriculture currently, because after second term of President Biden, President Biden's term, before that he was in Obama. So he was walking in, so he asked, looked at us, he said, "How come you are here?" So I told, "We are here to receive Professor Swaminathan." So he said, he has come by the same flight, but waiting for the wheelchair. So then he said, "Let me also wait for him to arrive." So for 15-20 minutes, all 3 of us waited before Swaminathan came. Now, Secretary Agriculture, Federal Secretary of US, waiting for Professor Swaminathan for 20 minutes is something that speaks of the respect that Professor commanded the world over. Many instances. I again recall that we met Honorable Prime Minister in 2016, I think just a week or 10 days after he had given a call that doubling farmers' income. So after the discussion, delegation level, Prime Minister asked me, so I walked up to him, so he asked, I have said doubling farmers' income. So I was in little lighter tone. I said, "Sir, you have given 6 years, it can be doubled in 4 years. He said, "What are you saying?" I said, "Bilkul ho sakta hai." He said, "Kaise hoga?" So I said, "Give me, sir, 10 days time. I'll come back with it." So I remember still, Dr. Dalwai, you had also participated. Secretary Patnaik Sahab had come. So a week later, we fixed up the date. Professor Swaminathan chaired that meeting. All the deliberation, of course, Dr. Dalwai subsequently, came up with, I think, 6-volume report that is very comprehensive. One more instance that I would like to, when Dr. Swaminathan became the chairman of the National Commission of Farmers, of which Professor R.B. Singh was also a member, Rajnath Singh ji was agriculture minister. So I went to meet him. So in the discussion, he said that National Commission of Farmers has been approved, and he told me all the 3 names. Swaminathan Sahab is to chair, R.B. Singh Sahab, Sompal ji had to chair. Sompal was the first chair, and then the government changed, and then Swaminathan Sahab appointed the chairman. So I remember I telephoned you, and Nanda Sahab, 2 were full-time chairman, and the others were part-time chairman. So when Professor Swaminathan took over, then I narrated all the details of how this formation had gone into. So when the news came that he's being chairman, So when he came there, I went to his house and, no, I'm sorry, India International Center, very long discussion happened. But the last day of his being the chairman of the Farmers Commission, so I was at NAS a few days before we talked. He said, I'll be leaving for airport, so hour before I reached there. So his last day in office as the chairman of National Commission of Farmers, also I was with him. So many, 25 years of closeness, there are a lot of instances from India to US that we traveled together and spent time. A very inspiring person, always very, very positive, and at the core of his heart was the feeling of the pain of sufferings of the common man. So he is all, very humanistic approach to whatever, I recall in his company I learned, I saw, interacted, and whatever he spoke, but always very positive. I do not recall a single instance where I went to him with something and he declined that. So this was a very, very inspiring personality, and at the core of his heart was, of course, very very the noble soul that and humanistic approach. So thank you very much. There are a lot of photos. I think I couldn't see that running in the background. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insights. I would now request all of the speakers coming on the dais to please offer some flowers to the departed soul as a homage to him. I would now request Dr. R.B. Singh, former Vice Chancellor, Central Agriculture University, to share his insights. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks, friends. As a matter of fact, very distinguished friends, Khan Sahab, I must say that words will never suffice to describe the depth and the seriousness that which Professor M.S. Swaminathan possessed to serve the humanity through science. As a matter of fact, there is hardly anyone globally who might have contributed even anywhere close to what Professor Swaminathan has contributed. Of course, the contribution in terms of India being the father of Green Revolution, converting India from ship-to-mouth situation to the food bill, national food bill situation, and today exporting about 50 billion US dollars worth, and ultimately emerging today as the second agrarian economy in the world. All that credit to begin with, to initiate this, goes to none other than Swaminathan. My dear friends, because of that transformation, it is the millions of lives which have been saved simply because otherwise of his contribution and Green Revolution, otherwise many would have starved to death. Another thing which I would like to narrate here at this moment, he was so humanistic in taking science to the field and to the farmer. We all remember that the number of
waiting for more than
farmer suicides were increasing in certain parts of the states of Maharashtra and so on, Rauti and so on. We visited all the states in the country, including the smaller island countries, Andaman, Nicobar, and so on, Goa. And you will be surprised when we visited those families whose heads of the families had committed suicide. In that village, there was a small meeting. And I tell you, when we were meeting those families individually, tears were rolling from the eyes of Professor Swaminathan and the whole village. And at that moment, we sat in the evening when we decided, should we change the path of agricultural growth? We were together, and as a matter of fact, that is when the world, yes, we have to do things differently. Probably when we talk of green revolution, it has to be converted into evergreen revolution. And how will that be done through the help of science? We will be able to discuss it. And that is when, as a matter of fact, there was a possibility that the National Commission of Farmers were formed, and the highest priority of National Commission of Farmers, of which I happen to be the senior-most member along with Dr. Swaminathan. And that Commission on Farmers was, as you all know, known as Swaminathan Commission. And anybody who referred to it referred as a Swaminathan Commission. And in that commission report is very clearly mentioned a set of recommendations. The first and foremost requirement and the definition of farmer is given. The first and foremost requirement is that our farmers' income must be double. There has to be zero waste. There has to be achievement of total food security in the country. And those procedures have been described, the 15 principal pathways given. All I would like to say that as our best respect that we can pay to Professor Swaminathan is that if we follow the recommendations that he has made for minimum support price for all the commodities, how the minimum support price for the farmers should be calculated, and if those are ensured with the doubling of income and farmers' price, second highest agrarian, and also Dalwai Saab, his concern about the science of delivery to be integrated with the science of discovery and the social responsibility together with the corporate social responsibility of science. These were the words which possibly we were able to wind through the report of the National Commission on Farmers, which must be the guidance and our privilege. And our homage to Dr. Swaminathan will be, our prayer to the Prime Minister today will be that please see word by word every word that Professor Swaminathan's commission has given in the national policy for farmers. Anywhere in the world, there is no policy on farmers. There are policies on agriculture, not per se on farmers. India is the only country which has policy on farmers. And this was coming out from the fifth volume of the report that we were able to summarize in that case, and the draft of the report was mentioned. And mind you, with tremendous discussion, in no time, in 6 months' time, in 2007, the Parliament passed the food bill and the farmers' bill. And it said the farmers' bill is the bill which has been passed in the shortest period of time. So these are the things I will submit that hardly we would ever have a person of this kind of outstanding thinking, the mindset to help the poorest of the poor and to help those who need to be helped the most. Our prayers again that, sir, keep showering your blessings on us. We need it. People of India need it. If people of India do well, the world will do, as you have been always leading the world. Through your blessings, hope India will continue to lead the world.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable insights. I would now request Shri O.P. Dhankar ji, former Agriculture Minister of Haryana and President of BJP Haryana, to share his valuable insights. Please, I welcome you on the dais, sir.
मैं आभारी हूँ खान साहब ने यहाँ भावांजलि अर्पित करने का ये अवसर दिल्ली में उत्पन्न किया। बहुत बड़ा योगदान मेरे से पूर्व वक्ताओं ने सबने चर्चा की होगी। मैंने लगभग 10 साल भारतीय जनता पार्टी के किसान मोर्चे में राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर काम किया। ये कमीशन जब काम कर रहा था तब मैं यहाँ किसान मोर्चे में काम करता था, महामंत्री था, उपाध्यक्ष था, बाद में 2 बार किसान मोर्चे का राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष था। और उस नाते से उस समय जो सरकार थी, शरद पवार जी को भी हमको बार बार मिलना होता था। उस समय जो कृषि मंत्रालय देखते थे, और मुझे उससे पहले सोमपाल शास्त्री जी से भी हम, जो कि उस समय पार्टी का नेशनल सेक्रेटरी था उससे पहले मैं, और उनका जो कमीशन बना था उस समय से लेकर ऐसे सारे मुद्दों से जुड़ने, जानने, समझने और उन मुद्दों पर काम करने का अवसर मिला। और मुझे ये कहने में आनंद है कि आज कोई भी सरकार 2 रुपये, 1 रुपया, 5 रुपये MSP नहीं बढ़ाती, उसका श्रेय किसी एक व्यक्ति को है, तो MS स्वामीनाथन जी को है। यानी पहली बार देश में प्रॉफिटेबल प्राइस 50% प्रॉफिट के साथ ये स्वीकार्य हुआ। और देश भर के किसानों में हमारे मोर्चे ने भी उस समय, उस सरकार में भी, और हमारी अपनी सरकार आई तो घोषणा पत्र में भी लिखवाने में हम कामयाब हुए और इम्प्लीमेंट कराने में कामयाब हुए। जहाँ इससे जुड़े हुए अन्य विषय थे, जोखिम प्रबंधन जैसा विषय बड़ा विषय देश में बना। ये तो मुझे याद है, अपने अपने इलाके की परंपरा होती है, जब ओलावृष्टि होती थी तो हमारी माँ कहती थी कि भी तवा मुद्दा मार दो, फसल का नुकसान नहीं हुआ। लेकिन ये एजेंडा बना इसके कारण से जोखिम प्रबंधन का, और हमारे राज्य में हमने उसको 6,000 रुपये से 5400 रुपये से 12,000 रुपये किया। उस समय 12,000 से अब हमारे राज्य में वो 15,000 रुपये प्रति एकड़ है। और मिनिमम भी 500 रुपये किया, नहीं तो 1.5 और 2 रुपये के चेक भी लोगों को मिल जाते थे। और उसी समय फिर ये हुआ कि डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का पैसा है तो इसलिए आप दे रहे हो। 2 फसलों पर लगातार हरियाणा में सरकार बनते ही हमने 1054 करोड़ और 940 करोड़ सफ़ेद मक्खी पे दिया, तो सवाल उठे कि आगे कहाँ से दोगे। तो इसी विषय को समझते हुए आगे बढ़ के मुझे ये कहने में भी कोई संकोच नहीं है कि हमने वहाँ बैठकर इस विषय पर विचार किया कि फसल का बीमा किस तरह का हो, क्योंकि डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का फंड सीमित रहता है। और वो प्रधानमंत्री जी को सौंपा, उन्होंने अरुण जेटली जी को सौंपा, आज वो स्वर्ग में हैं। और उन्होंने ये पॉलिसी जो अभी वर्तमान में चल रही है, मुझे बुला के कहा कि इस पर अब आप नहीं बोलेंगे और हम इसको देश भर में लागू करेंगे। और मुझे आनंद है कि केवल हरियाणा के किसानों को हर साल औसत रूप से 1100 करोड़ रुपया कंपनसेशन इन 9 सालों में हर साल मिला है। और उसका क्रेडिट किसी महापुरुष को है, तो स्वामीनाथन साहब को है। एक विषय हम जब विद्यार्थी थे तो पढ़ते थे कि जनसंख्या ज़्यादा तेज़ी से बढ़ रही है और अनाज का उत्पादन कम तेज़ी से बढ़ रहा है, और 2050 तक कैसा सीन हो जाएगा। मेरी उम्र के लोगों ने शायद वो पाठ पढ़ा होगा। लेकिन जब देश के सामने चुनौती आई और ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन, हरियाणा पंजाब तो उसका जनक रहा। और जिस प्रकार से आपने उसमें काम किया, खास करके धान के बीजों के लिए काम किया, गेहूं के लिए काम हुआ। मैं आयोवा में भी वर्ल्ड फूड प्राइज का जो ऑफिस है उसमें गया हूं, जहां आप पुरस्कृत भी हुए उसमें। तो ये जो बदलाव हुआ कि आज हम अपना पेट भरकर भी, हरियाणा जैसा छोटा राज्य भी 15 करोड़ लोगों के लिए 15 करोड़ क्विंटल अतिरिक्त अनाज देता है, और देश में भी इतना अनाज हो रहा है कि हम इतनी बड़ी आबादी को और खिला सकते हैं। तो उसमें भी बहुत बड़ा योगदान मैं कहूँगा कि उस समय की आवश्यकता के हिसाब से हुआ। लेकिन उसमें से मेरे से पूर्व वक्ता जैसे चर्चा कर रहे थे, उसमें से नई किस्म की चुनौतियाँ उत्पन्न हुई, और वो चुनौतियाँ इसलिए उत्पन्न हुई कि हरित क्रांति के बाद खेती एक पूंजी सघन व्यवसाय बन गया था, कैपिटल इंटेंसिव। और पूंजी सघन व्यवसाय के लिए जैसे पूंजी उपलब्ध करानी चाहिए थी सस्ती, वो पूंजी उपलब्ध नहीं थी। मुझे याद है अटल जी जब प्रधानमंत्री थे तो पहली बार किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड आया, और उनके घर पर एक कार्यक्रम था, शायद एमजे खान जी को याद हो, राजनाथ जी की पहल पर वो हुआ था कि 18 से 9% पर इंटरेस्ट रेट पर पैसा लेकर आए थे। वो घटते घटते 4% और कोऑपरेटिव पर 0% तक गया, तो पूंजी सहज उपलब्ध होने लगी। तो इसलिए जब पूंजी सुगहन व्यवसाय होता है तो कोई जोखिम प्रबंधन नहीं था, और इसलिए मैंने अभी चर्चा की कि जोखिम प्रबंधन इन दिनों में इस प्रकार का शुरू हुआ, पूंजी सघन व्यवसाय की तरफ धकेला गया। जोखिम प्रबंधन था नहीं, सरकारों के द्वारा किया नहीं गया, और इसलिए इतनी बड़ी संख्या में फार्मर सुसाइड जैसे विषय देश भर में हुए, क्योंकि आपने एकदम जो आजीविका की खेती से लोगों को पूंजी सघन व्यवसाय पर ले गए और उसके लिए कोई प्रबंध नहीं किए गए थे। मैं कहूँगा कि उस समय की इन नीतियों के कारण से इस संकट के दौर से गुजरना पड़ा, लेकिन चैलेंजेज अभी भी हैं, और जो उसमें से उभरे हैं उसके लिए मुझे लगता है एक मीटिंग में मैं शायद यहीं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्लब में आया था, स्वामीनाथन साहब जब एक दूसरे कमीशन का काम देख रहे थे, जो फूड से जुड़ा हुआ कोई कमीशन उनका था, तो उसकी मीटिंग में मैं आया था। क्योंकि अब जो आवश्यकता है या जिस प्रकार के बदलावों की आवश्यकता है, क्योंकि बहुत लोग ये मानते हैं कि अभी भी कैंसर या बहुत सारी बीमारियां जो है, जो फर्टिलाइजर्स के, पेस्टिसाइड्स के, बाकी सब इस्तेमाल के जो है के कारण से उत्पन्न हो रही हैं, किसानों को जान देनी पड़ रही है बड़ी संख्या में। कई स्पेसिफिक स्टडी भी हैं पंजाब के कुछ इलाकों की जिसमें इतनी बड़ी संख्या में ये सब बढ़ा है। तो उस पर भी हम उसके कारण से, एक ग्रीन रिवोल्यूशन के कारण से उस पर गए, अन्न से अनाज तो बचा, लेकिन नए प्रकार के जो चुनौतियाँ खड़ी हुई हैं, और फिर से अब उससे बदल कर किस प्रकार से हम ऑर्गेनिक और बाकी सारे विषयों पर जाएं। तो मुझे लगता है कि उन सवालों के जवाब भी हमको और आगे खोजने पड़ेंगे, लेकिन सबसे महत्व की बात यह है कि उत्पादन की बजाय किसान को केंद्र में लाने का काम MS स्वामीनाथन साहब ने किया। यानी उत्पादकता की तो बहुत चर्चा थी, उत्पादन के आंकड़ों की बहुत चर्चा थी, लेकिन उत्पादक की कोई चर्चा नहीं थी। उत्पादक केंद्र में आए, उत्पादक की आमदनी बढ़े, किसान की आमदनी बढ़े, उस पर फोकस हो, ये करने का काम किया। लेकिन ये यात्रा मुझे लगता है कि बहुत अभी और, क्योंकि ये काम लगातार करने का है, लगातार जोतों को छोटा होना है, लगातार जोतों को अनुपजाऊ होना है, लगातार उसमें से और बड़ी चुनौतियां सामने आने वाली हैं, क्योंकि ये कोई रुकने वाली बात नहीं है। क्योंकि किसी उस तरह से तो आगे के प्रश्नों का भी उनसे प्रेरणा लेकर मुझे लगता है कि बहुत लोगों को शायद इस क्षेत्र में काम करने की आवश्यकता है। मुझे आनंद है कि मैंने ये कहने में कोई संकोच भी नहीं है कि किसान मोर्चे के नाते कोई रास्ता था जो दिखाया स्वामीनाथन साहब ने, उसके लिए लगातार हमने उस समय आंदोलन किए, काम किया संगठन में, उस नाते से पार्टी में मुद्दे बनाए, और सरकार बनी तो उन्होंने जो बताया था हरियाणा में हस्त फसल की खरीद, उस प्रकार का जोखिम प्रबंधन, भावांतर भरपाई जैसे तरीकों से भी किसानों की क्षतिपूर्ति करने का काम, ये करने का मैं मानूंगा कि मुझे अगर सौभाग्य मिला तो उसका मोटिवेशन, उसकी प्रेरणा MS स्वामीनाथन साहब थे। उन्होंने अपना जीवन तो बेहतर बनाया ही बनाया, लेकिन देश के करोड़ों किसानों का जीवन बेहतर बनाने में उनका बहुत बड़ा योगदान है, और इसलिए मैं उनके प्रति एक भावपूर्ण श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूँ।
Thank you very much, sir. I would now request Justice P. Sathasivam, former Chief Justice of India, to please honor us with his valuable words.
Good afternoon to everyone. Legendary agricultural scientist and a key architect of the country's Green Revolution passed away at his residence in Chennai on 28th September 2023 at the age of 98. Born in Kumbakonam in Tamil Nadu on 7/8/1925, his keen interest in agricultural science with father's participation in the freedom movement and Gandhiji's influence inspired him to pursue higher studies in agricultural science. After studying from Agricultural College, Coimbatore, later joined in Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi. He earned a doctorate from Cambridge. In 1954, he joined Central Rice Research Institute, Cuttack, later became a director of IARI. Dr. Swaminathan, recipient of Padma Shri in 1967, Padma Bhushan in January 1972, held several important posts in agriculture. In 2004, Union government appointed him as chairman of National Committee for Farmers. His main recommendation to the center was that minimum support price should be at least 50% more than the weighted average cost of production. He was nominated to Rajya Sabha from 2007 to 2013. His major contributions: developing high-yielding basmati varieties, using technology of mutation for various crops, application for genetic for increasing production, food security, and launching programs such as Lab to Land. He championed for farmers' cause, advocated for fair prices, access to technology, social justice within agricultural landscape. His work was a testament to his commitment to improving the lives of those who toiled on the land. His immense contribution in developing and promoting high-yielding varieties of wheat and rice helped to transform the country from food deficit to a food surplus nation. The Green Revolution had a profound impact on increasing food production by over 200% between 1965 and 1985. This helped to avert widespread famine and poverty in the Bharat. He established a foundation named msswaminathan Research Foundation, which supports human and institutional capacity building. He is considered one of the most revered personalities in the history of Indian culture. Before concluding my remarks, I want to inform the August gathering. I'm supposed to participate in the second function, which starts at 5:30. Mr. Khan informed me, maybe knowing that I am a farmer's son, I am a Kisan. After reaching the highest position in the judiciary and after retirement as a Chief Justice of India, only one from Tamil Nadu from 1950,
I refused to stay at either national capital or my state capital because I want to continue my farming. That is my profession. My father, grandfather, I studied in, I am living in a remote village in western part of Tamil Nadu, 125 kilometers away from Coimbatore, maybe 400 away from Chennai. I studied in a government school. I studied only in Tamil medium, then joined law, then reached the highest position. After my judgment in the Reliance Gas judgment, public sector undertakings, the MDs and chairmen, they came and compelled me to stay at Delhi after retirement, because in that judgment I made an observation for encouraging public sector undertakings. But I said, sir, I don't want to do the legal work after retirement. I have to do my farming work. I went there. I settled in my village. Maybe when Mr. Khan requested me to participate in this, it is not a function. We are paying respect to our departed leader. So immediately I agreed. But my experience, no, it may not be relevant, but only one sentence I want to say. After demitting the office of Chief Justice of India at the age of 65, on the request of our present Prime Minister, I accepted the office of governorship as a governor of Kerala, and after demitting, after spending 5 years there, I returned to my state, my village, and started cultivating my lands, 30 acres of wetland adjoining to Kaveri River. You know, in Tamil Nadu, all farmers are getting free electricity. My father has developed 5 wells, 5 pump sets. I'm not paying single rupee to the government for taking electricity. No land tax. The government, successive governments abolished all taxes. In spite of it, now as a farmer I am realizing the farmers are not getting the required investment, because the day 1, September 2019, I am noting down every day, today what is the income from my lands, how much I spend towards fertilizer, labor, other things. But every year, I'm spending only from my pension. Otherwise, I cannot survive in village. That is the position. Though earlier speakers have mentioned, our departed leader has fought for the fair price, but unfortunately, still the government have to take more efforts, because after the Right to Education Act, everybody is sending their children to school. That is a good thing. Otherwise, parents will be prosecuted. But after crossing +2 or 10th, nobody is willing to come and work in the field. So labor problem is there. And after this Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi rural employment, it is very difficult to get a single male or female to come to our land. That is the position. Of course, person like me, after entering my land, I purchased a tractor, plowing machine, crusher, trailer, everything I modernized. I am using drip irrigation, sprinkler, everything. In spite of it, I am not able to take the minimum profit. Anyhow, that is not the issue today. And today the world has lost a doyen of agricultural research, development, and humanity. But every time we eat a bowl of rice, he will be remembered. His illustrious life will remain an inspiration for new generation, particularly many youngsters are here. We pray to the Almighty to bless the departed soul with everlasting peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us with your valuable words. I would now request Dr. Ashok Dalwai, CEO, NRAA, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India, to share his insights. Over to you, sir.
Respected dignitaries, all the dear friends and young students, this is a very solemn occasion. All of us are gathered here to pay our tributes to one of the greatest sons of India. Dr. Swaminathan is one of the modern makers of modern India. He, along with Dr. Varghese Kurian, another maker of modern India, they deserve the best of respects from all of us and all the future generations. It is very interesting that three people who have contributed to bringing peace on earth by conquering hunger were destined to be in agriculture sector. They wanted to become something else, but destiny brought them into agriculture. One of them is the father of global green revolution, Dr. Norman Borlaug. He studied in a single room, single teacher school, village school in the state of Iowa, and his only aim was to become a sports teacher. He ended up joining a forestry college. He was selected as the assistant range forest officer. He went for his training. Then there was the Great Recession in the United States, what is called Great Depression of 1929. There was a budget cut. The order that made him assistant range forest officer was withdrawn. He had to come back and pursue his studies. And thanks to that, he ended up being a pathologist, but in life a breeder who released the first varieties that controlled the wheat stem rust, increased the yield, paved way for green revolution in Mexico, United States, and then across Asia and Africa. So somebody who would have been possibly the Inspector General of Forest of America became the father of Green Revolution. Second one was Dr. Kurian, who lived in Chennai, whose house was close by the officer training school, always keen to become an army officer. Got selected, but his mother cried, saying that you are the only son for me. How can I send you into army? So he did not join, and then he became a dairy technologist. So somebody who may have retired as General of Indian Army became the father of India's White Revolution. Then we have Dr. MS Swaminathan. I had heard that he was to get into Indian police service. So about 7 years back, when I met him, I asked him, "Sir, is it true that you were selected for Indian police service?" He said, "Yes, in 1949, I got through the UPSC.
I was doing my postdoc outside. Then I asked the advice of my uncle. He said, better don't go there, you continue your studies. So somebody who may have become Inspector General of Police Tamil Nadu became the father of India's Green Revolution. So having read these three people, whose photo I always keep in my office, I believe very strongly there is something called destiny. So Dr. Swaminathan was destined to make history in the post-independent agricultural domain. There's another very interesting quirk of destiny. Mr. B. Shivraman, one of the first secretaries of agriculture, one of the first cabinet secretary of India, highly committed to agriculture, hailed from Tamil Nadu, served in Odisha cadre. So in his biography, The Bittersweet, he writes, it was the destiny of 3 Tamilians to work for India's agriculture. Mr. C. Subramaniam, the dynamic Minister of Agriculture in 1960s. Dr. Shivaraman, the Secretary Agriculture. And Dr. Swaminathan, the scientist heading the IRI. It was these 3 Tamilians, incidentally, who had that privilege, blessed by God, to work for conquering India's hunger. Dr. Swaminathan is a very rare scientist who was allowed to blossom into every field in our country. Given the governance structure, given the administrative structure dominated by the bureaucracy, it is very rare that a scientist would be allowed to contribute to policy making. So he's one of the first scientists to have become not only the Director General of ICAR. As we know, till 1964, it was the civil servants who were heading the ICAR. It was thanks to the Ford Foundation recommendation that the scientists came to replace the civil servants, rightly so. So Dr. Swaminathan not only served as Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, Research and Education, possibly till now he's the only scientist who also became the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture. And he's the first agriculture scientist to have been appointed as a Vice Chairman of the Planning Commission of India, the most powerful body at that point of time. The fact that Dr. Swaminathan really did not care for positions is manifest from the fact that he resigned from that position and went on to become the Director General of IRI in Philippines. That means he was committed to science. And science is what India's constitution speaks of. There is a particular article which says that India's agriculture must be led on the shoulders of science. So Dr. Swaminathan is a manifestation of that particular article of faith. He has won several awards, both at national level and international levels. But I think his heart lay in solving the basic problems. He's one of the first persons, I must say, who combined in himself science and technology, policy making, policy influencing, opinion making, along with agriculture extension. A plant breeder hardly thinks of extension. But I remember having listened to his interview long back in 70s, having joined agriculture college, here he talked about lab to land. It may be a very simple terminology, but then it brought focus on the need for transferring technology to the farmers by connecting the laboratory with the farms. He is one of the first persons to have been able to influence the policy making. Otherwise, imagine just a scientist calling on the Honorable Prime Minister of the country to tell her that this is what we need. When you read
Norman Borlaug, we'll realize it was not easy for these people to get those 18,000 quintals of seeds. They had to move hell and heaven at that point of time. Even Dr. C. Subramaniam, the Minister of Agriculture, threw up his hands at one point of time, because those were the days of command and control, where imports were not easy. India had no fertilizers. They had to go and meet the then Vice Chairman of Planning Commission, Ashok Mehta, who refused to allow permission. It was at the intervention of the Prime Minister, and that credit must go to then Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, who was the first man to allow the import of seeds. In a way, both White Revolution and Green Revolution, the first seeds were sown by one man, Lal Bahadur Shastri. But then, making them understand the relevance of importing seeds, importing fertilizers, and then evolving the price policy support that will incentivize the farmers, all that credit must go to people like Dr. Swaminathan. So I think we have a very rare person in Dr. Swaminathan, who was a scientist, a technology developer, a policy influencer, and also somebody who talked about farmers. Before I conclude, let me say a few things about his personal charisma. As a student in the agriculture college in Karnataka, I heard for the first time about him from my professors. And those of our students studying in IRI would come and tell us that he was a very powerful speaker. He maintained such personal relationships that he knew the names of every student or the professors. If he came to address at the auditorium, then the people would be standing outside to listen to him. So this particular image that I carried about him, by chance I happened to meet him in 1996. I was additional secretary in the Department of Agriculture in Odisha. He had come to meet our CM and talk about some particular policy. He was the only person who, after the chief minister went out of the meeting hall, stood there to meet every single officer there in the hall. Everybody walked out. But Dr. Swaminathan was one person who one by one went, shook hands with everybody there, asked their names, and tried to know about the background. So this was the personality of a person who, that means, was more humane. He was not sitting on the high horse that he had achieved so much, but then he was the father of India's Green Revolution. So this personality is something inspiring for all of us. Thereafter, I had several opportunities to meet him. Each time I met him, I found that inspiration in him, because he was so committed to the farming community, to the agricultural science, and of course, India. When I went to Des Moines, I saw the kind of respect the people have for him. The whole international community would be waiting for Dr. Swaminathan. They would be waiting literally at the gate to receive him. So I think the rare personality who made an impact on the global scene, not just agriculture, but beyond agriculture. So for all of us sitting here, for all of us concerned with agriculture and farmers in particular, he will continue to be a lamppost, a leading light, that we can combine our professional life with our personal commitments and find a purpose in life. So because he found a purpose in life, he was able to live up to 98 years. Long life is also dependent on realizing the purpose of life, leading a simple sattvic life. So I think Dr. Swaminathan was somebody who had everything in him, not just commitment to job, but also a commitment to a clean and ethical life. So all of us pay deep respects to Dr. M.S. Swaminathan and thank him for all that he has done for our country, for global agriculture, and the best tribute that we can all pay is to say that in our own lives, we will try to emulate him. So once again, I join all of you and the whole country in paying respects to Dr. M.S. Swaminathan and commit ourselves to leading a life in his footsteps. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir, to share the imprints of the valuable contribution of Dr. Swaminathan to nation and the world. I would now request Dr. K.L. Chadda, sir, to share his insights in this ceremony. So we can give you the mic and
Good afternoon. Please forgive me to pay my respects to the departed soul while sitting and not standing. I got some problem in my eyes which makes me move with a stick and be careful that I don't fall. Now coming to the point, I'm thankful to Mr. Khan for asking me to join this August gathering for paying homage to late Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. It is now 16 days when he left for his heavenly abode. And there has been no day when I have not read messages appreciating his contributions, remembering him and his personality through various means. There have been a lot of messages on the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, on the TAS, and also on the Indian Academy of Horticulture Sciences. After reading these messages, you can know how much Swaminathan was loved for his various contributions, his persona, his relationship with staff and other people, and his global recognitions, which have been amply described. Much has been written about Dr. Swaminathan. There are several biographies. A number of speakers today have also utilized his contributions to agriculture and culture. I don't think I would like to repeat them, nor I am competent to do that. I first met Dr. Swaminathan in 1972 on 14th of April. I had come to Delhi to appear for an interview of the project coordinator, tropical, subtropical, and temperate fruits in IERA, New Delhi. Dr. Swaminathan has just taken over as DG ICR a couple of days before. In the interview, Dr. Kanugo was representing the director IERA. He asked me, even though the post is in Delhi, would you like that you should be placed in Bangalore where you are working? I told him, sir, I would like to come to Delhi, it's a leading institute, and I would like to join here. That's the end of that. But this put me in suspicion that they may not put me back in Bangalore since I was keen to avail the position in Delhi. I came to know that Dr. Swaminathan has joined as a DG, and he was sitting in IARI in the room where he used to sit as the head of the division. I visited him, I had not known him before, met him, he asked about my welfare and I told him, I have come to meet you and pay my regards. He said, how did you come to Delhi? I told him, and then said, can I do anything for you? I said, sir, I just appeared for an interview for which they were asking me whether I would like to come to Delhi or remain in Bangalore. Given to me, I would like to come to Delhi. With that, I left. The very next day, on file, he took a decision that he will join at Delhi. And I got that letter in 2 days after his joining as DGICR. This is the first instance when I really had a TTA with Dr. Swaminathan. After that, of course, I worked with him as a colleague in several positions, but I think our major contact and interaction was through in the post-retirement period. I retired in 1996, which is about 28 years. Let me share, I share my birthday with Dr. Swaminathan, 7th August, and I always felt proud of this fact, not knowing, not giving any significance to it, but I thought that I shared my birthday with one of the best persons in India I could share with. Anyway, I have a few incidents that I would like to narrate, rather than talk about his contributions. I joined as head of the Central Mango Research Station at Lucknow. Some land was given to us, which was ravenous, which was 25 kilometers away from Lucknow, about 3-4 kilometers off the road. I was not reconciling to developing that land because I felt farmers will not be able to come here and visit the land and take advantage of our findings. I had been requesting Dr. Swaminathan to visit that land. He made a program, let me know. I had just joined there about a year back. No transport. I used to go by bus and further by walk, about 4 kilometers. Dr. Swaminathan came, I borrowed a jeep from the Indian Institute of Sugarcane Research and took him to visit that land to get a decision what should we do about it. The jeep developed some mechanical trouble in way. Both of us were on the road, not knowing what to do. I was helpless because I was the host. He was feeling sorry that I was feeling embarrassed. I told him, sir, what to do? You have to catch a plane in the evening. He says, don't you think we can get a cart, a bullock cart or a tanga? We will reach there and visit the place. I think till I got a substitute vehicle, we had to do the same. We stopped a tanga. Both of us sat in that, reached the site, and of course came back by the vehicle. I mean, this is the type of humility which really Dr. Swaminathan showed, you know. Similarly, there was an international interaction on environment and agriculture organized by the Netherlands Embassy in Delhi, which Dr. Swaminathan was required to chair. Somehow he developed some other engagements and could not go there. I was sitting before him. He said, could you go and speak something on agriculture and environment in that meeting which I was supposed to chair? I said, sir, I have not much experience about the subject, but I will try to do justice to whatever I can do. So I prepared myself, went there, spoke on agriculture and environment. And if I look back and say the truth, it was admired by the participants as a good analysis. I told him, sir, the agriculture and environment has made me much more wiser about what we agricultural scientists have to feel. And I'm grateful to you for sending me there. After giving that talk, I felt that there was much more to environment from agricultural situations than we know. I started compiling a publication on agriculture and environment and partitioned environment into 40 chapters and went to Dr. Swaminathan and said, sir, I have tried to partition it. I would like you to see it and add if you would like to add anything. He said, it's perfectly all right. I said, I would like to be the senior author in this. He said, no, it's your idea. You will be the senior author, but I will be the co-editor. This is the second time he really showed a very, very magnanimous persona. And the book was published and released by the Prime Minister, Shri Manmohan Singh ji. This is another story. The third story is, the incident. Mr. S.L. Katyal, an Assistant Director General, Horticulture in ICR, he died at Melbourne Airport in Australia on an official duty. There were some technical problems in getting back his body. And for 4 or 5 days, every day the message would come that his body has been loaded and should be received. I was a son-in-law, but Dr. Swaminathan, daily as a DG ICR, used to go to the airport to receive the body and come back without the body. Finally, the body came, but the papers did not come. And the airport authorities refused to release the body. Dr. Swaminathan personally talked to the Foreign Ministry, got the body received as it came. And ultimately, the whole thing got settled. Dr. Swaminathan was also at heart a horticulturist. His one of the first assignments was at the Central Potato Research Institute, Shimla. Later on, he was asked to chair a committee constituted by the Prime Minister of India on reducing losses of perishable commodities, which meant how to really improve horticulture by reducing the losses of the horticultural communities. He gave a report in which there were many recommendations. 2 of them was that the National Horticulture Board should be set up. The second was this board should devote to building infrastructure for post-harvest management in India, because production will keep on going. This recommendation was immediately implemented by the PM and the DG, and I was the first person to take over as the executive director of this National Horticulture Board. The allocation at that time, the total allocation for development of horticulture in the ministry where I was a Commissioner Horticulture also, was 25 crores. I went to Dr. Swaminathan and I said, sir, I have read your report. It's very, very useful, thought-provoking. But the type of programs at least are not possible within the type of amount which has been allocated by the Government of India for horticulture development. Total 25 crore for 5 years. He said, well, yes, it's a long-term program. Look if something is there which you can do within the money available with you. I came back, read the report 2-3 times, and found 3 items which I could, pardon? Yeah, I'll stop after this. There are lots of incidents. And the 3 items were, the first was setting up of a market information service. You can imagine I'm talking of 86, there was no market information service. and we put telexes at 25 places in the country as an executive director of horticulture in the country. The second was the juice, apple juice was there, but it's not selling. We put, at all the airports, blenders for selling the juice. And these blenders are there since then. It's again 1986. The third was storage of perishable commodities. And we started a scheme for storage of onion and potato. Well, I'm grateful to Dr. Swaminathan for giving me all this wisdom. I learned a lot from him. I contributed significantly to the growth of ICFA, to the growth of agriculture today, all the awards that we are giving, to the World Agriculture Awards, and I feel really humbled by this opportunity given to me by Mr. Khan and the company of Dr. Swaminathan. Thank you very much. Sorry to bother you all. But
Thank you very much, sir, to share your valuable insights. I will now request Mr. Angelo Mauricio, Agriculture ATG, Embassy of Brazil, to share his insights.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. On behalf of His Excellency, the Ambassador of Brazil to India, Ambassador Kenneth Nóbrega, I salute all the august dignitaries, friends, and everybody who came here today. As a person who works with agriculture every day and comes from a family of farmers, such as myself, it's a privilege and it's an honor to be able to be here today to celebrate the memory of Professor Swaminathan. On behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture of Brazil and on behalf of all the Brazilian people, I'd like to pay tribute to this great man who is Professor Swaminathan. If I could say an important thing today is that we all who live in this century, we all who live at these times, somehow and at some extent, we owe to Professor Swaminathan the food that we eat today. No matter if you live in India, no matter if you live in Brazil, no matter if we live in any country in the world, the food that we eat today somehow is linked to the work of this brilliant man. His brilliant mind and his relentless work really changed the lives of millions and millions of people around the world in his relentless fight against hunger. And fighting against hunger is one of the top priorities of the Brazilian government right now. Fighting against hunger is fighting for life. And that's why I truly believe that it's more than a reason enough for us to be here today and to pay tribute for his work. India and Brazil share something in common, share in common the fact that 50 years ago, both nations were net importers of food. And now we are big producers of food, not only for our own people, but for the world, to the world. And this is, of course, part of this is because of the work that Professor Swaminathan developed during his entire career and as a goal of his own life. Having said that, the government of Brazil would like to acknowledge this outstanding and brilliant work, and would like to remark that every effort and every resource that we invest in science and in research and in technology in the field of agriculture is extremely important. So that's why the government of Brazil would like at this moment, at this very extremely important moment, to acknowledge the work that he did and to remark that our nation is grateful, is deeply grateful, and deeply, of course, deeply sad for his demise, but we are also very much grateful, and we'd like to pay the respect at this moment for all the work that he did and that impact our lives today, not only in India, not only in Brazil, but in the whole world. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I just would like to have a pause for the speakers since we have Dr. Soumya Swaminathan joining us online. She's the daughter of Dr. MS Swaminathan. We would now hear upon her deliberations and contributions online.
Thank you very much. And it's such a nice gesture on your behalf to have arranged this this session or condolence meeting where I have been hearing so many tributes to my father. So on behalf of the family, I would really like to thank you, but also on behalf of the affection and support. And it just goes to show that my father was not just a scientist. Of course, you know, well-known and great scientists are often respected, admired, and loved by their peers. But the kind of outpouring that I have seen from ordinary people on the street, from farmers from far and wide, especially women farmers who came to pay their last respects, from students of all ages, from young students who have never met him but have only heard and read about his work, to older generations, because he has mentored and inspired so many generations of people, and not just in agriculture, I should add, but really from all walks of life. He was one of those who took an interest in multiple things. I think partly thanks to my mother, who also had a very deep interest in the social sciences and social aspects and culture and the arts. So he has helped individuals who have been trying to start their own NGOs to address things from as broad as tuberculosis or nutrition, or using arts, for science communication. Journalists whom he has helped, guided and mentored. And so the kind of stories that we've heard over the last few days have been so heartwarming, and they have brought out different aspects of his personality. But I think the one thing that stands out really was his sincere desire to help everyone, his ability to spot some element of passion in somebody and help them no matter what they were doing, and also his willingness to go out of his way to help people regardless of who they were, not just that he would respond to important people, but to anyone who walked in and asked for his help. And I think that was the most amazing thing for me is that people just walked into the foundation without an appointment, just knocked on his door, and he would give them a patient hearing, and not just as a formality, but if he could, he would actually do something to support that or help that individual and whatever they were trying to do. So it is very hard to think about emulating somebody who had those kind of very unique personality traits, which are very, very difficult to come by. I think you can be good at one thing, or you could be a brilliant scientist, but to also have that level of compassion, that level of empathy, that level of concern for humanitarian needs. I mean, just a few months ago, when we saw what happened in Odisha, that was on the news, and he was watching the news on television. And the first thing he said to me is, I need to write to the Chief Minister of Odisha, Naveen Patnaik, whom he knows very well, and ask him, what support can we give you? So, even at the age of 98, he was thinking about others. He was not really thinking about himself or his own physical health, which, he was getting weaker and weaker. But his first thought was, what can we do? What can I do to help those who have suffered, a terrible tragedy? So I think there are lots of lessons really to learn, from the way that he lived his life. Indeed, teaches us all how to care about others, and wherever you are and in whatever way, how can you help somebody who's less privileged? And he did that through the medium of science and through using science and technology to improve people's lives. So thank you very much for asking me to share a few thoughts, and I will stay connected, but once again, thank you so much also for having arranged this tribute. Back to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing the insights. I would now like to invite Mr. Mariano, Agriculture at ATG, Ambassador of Argentina, to share his valuable insights.
Respected delegates, on behalf of Excellency Mr. Javier Ogobi, Ambassador of Argentina in India, I want to thank for the invitation to participate in the tribute to Dr. Swaminathan, architect of India Green Revolution, organized by Agriculture Today. Let me also express my gratitude and congratulations to all the team of Agriculture Today for their work. As an Argentinian and agriculture country, we know how important it is to communicate to society how agriculture and scientists like Dr. Swaminathan have contributed to produce food using technology to feed the world. It is an absolutely honor to integrate this panel with such distinguished people. I want to take 2 minutes to share some of my thoughts about Dr. Swaminathan. I knew about him before I came to India. His name and contributions is mentioned in every paper, book related with wheat and rice salinity soils. All their contributions about agriculture, a green revolution to India. Dr. Swaminathan revolutionized agriculture in India, contributed to research, mentored and emphasized sustainable farming, leaving an enduring legacy in the Indian culture. I was hearing all the history, all the stories about some experience with Dr. Swaminathan. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to meet him, but I have a short story with him. My wife in 2017 came to India to do an internship in Apollo Hospital in Chennai. So I came with her. As agronomist, the first institute that I visited in Chennai was the Swaminathan Foundation. That is my short story about it. So, as agronomist, as a farmer, and now as a civil servant, I believe that to know how to farm, you need to leave your office. You must visit the field, touch the soil, and get your hands dirty and sweat. This is the only language the soil and the plants understand, and what Dr. Swaminathan did in India. India and Argentina agricultural relations have been very tight from the beginning. Just to give some examples, the first diplomatic agreement between India and Argentina, signed in 1951, was about exchanging wheat from Argentina and jute from India. Today, here in India works one of the 6 agriculture offices that the Ministry of Economy and the Secretary of Agriculture have in the worldwide. The primary purpose of this office is to empower the agricultural relation between countries. Argentina and India are working together in sustainable agricultural technologies like zero-till, locust control and management, livestock disease like foot-mouth disease and brucellosis, and gene editing. I don't want to extend my time of presentation. To conclude, I want to say that India and Argentina have done a lot in the agriculture arena, but the potential of cooperation is enormous. For both countries, the agriculture sector is a crucial sector for the economy and the society. Thanks again for the invitation to be part of this historical tribute to the father of the agricultural revolution of India.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now like to call Ms. Mamta Jain to have her valuable deliberations on her associations with MS Swaminathan, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Dr. Dalwai said, that destiny does play a very crucial role in what you are and what you become. So when I joined Dr. Khan in 2016, I did not know the A of agriculture, despite being an agriculture engineer, because I had never worked in the sector before. So, and within a week of joining Dr. Khan, this institution, this legend came to our office. So I felt it was like a divine blessing from above, that I was now at the right place, and I was where I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So that divine blessing helped me in such a way that within a short period of 5 years, I managed to connect with the who's and who of Indian agriculture around, including Dr. Dalwai, and all eminent luminaries sitting here. So it was a rejuvenating learning experience, and a very blessed experience, because connecting back to the roots felt very, very enriching and very enlightening. So I guess my tribute to Dr. Khan would never be enough in giving me this opportunity and trusting me with this role, despite my not knowing agriculture. So I'll always be thankful to him for this. And one tiny factor that I know about Dr. Swaminathan was that, I mean, since he was such a legend, I mean, while we were in college, there were no internet and nothing. So the only 2 names we were aware of from Indian agriculture were Dr. Swaminathan and Dr. Kurian. So that was all we knew about in agriculture, the business side of it. So when I met Dr. Swaminathan, I mean, I was floored by his humility. I mean, despite being what he was, his humility just took us, bowled us all over. Since then, as a tradition, I always used to send the first copy of the Agriculture Today editions that were done under my leadership to him. And without fail, I mean, I still get goosebumps just thinking about that, because without fail, I used to get a response from him. So initially, I used to think that maybe his office was writing back to me, but later when I told him that I get so floored when I receive a response from him, he said no, he takes the time out, he reads the edition, and sends his feedback with his blessings to me. So, I mean, that was the kind of humility of this legend, and I was very blessed that within just 4 years, I managed to meet him almost 8 times. So, thank you so much, and it was a lovely association with Dr. Swaminathan, and I guess, as they say, legends never die. And just looking at the students here, I fondly remember his words at one of the speeches at Prannoy Roy's function, where he said that students these days don't want to get into agriculture, but the future belongs to nations with grains and not guns. I guess that will take us a long way. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I would now like to call upon Mr. Raju Kapoor, Director, FMC Corporation.
It's a very solemn occasion where we are collecting here to celebrate the legacy of Dr. Swaminathan. I think a lot has been talked about his contribution, but in my opinion, greatness of a person is not where he sits, but by way of the impact he brings about to the bottom of the pyramid. Dr. Swaminathan, today, I mean, look at India, and I look at his contribution and then say, what if this had not happened? You know, today, we are sitting at a position where for the last 3 years, the government has been able to feed 80 crore of people free of cost. Could we have ever imagined? I mean, you look back and then you suddenly recollect how great was the contribution. His focus on making food available, accessible, and affordable, I think that was very critical. And doing all this in a sustainable manner. I think one of his remarks, which I just heard in the film, and of course, which I have also read about this, is that he was very clear that technology can be used and abused and misused. How not to stretch the technology, not to overexploit the technology, which could ultimately become a pain, which somewhere, I think we've been talking about it, that the Green Revolution has its own negative sides while it has its positive sides. So I think, for me, I think his approach was, like many people said, was humanitarian approach, which was actually addressed at putting the person at the bottom of the pyramid, putting the poorest of the poor at the center and thinking about what could he have done. I think science in the service of the nation. He is an example of how science could bring about prosperity. He also, I think, picking up from where Dr. Dalwai left, you don't need to be only a scientist, in my opinion. You possibly need to be beyond a scientist, wherein for a cause or a passion that you have, you need to push your science and you need to push the boundaries of policy and make sure that you are able to bring about change there. So for me, he was a great scientist, everybody knows. For me, most important is the way he was able to, if I may use the wrong word, marketing, the way he was able to market his idea to the political class. It's very important that science must break into the barriers of policy which do not allow science to percolate. For me, I think today the greatest tribute to him would be to for all stakeholders to join hands together and drive the larger agenda of what our Prime Minister says, that India must be the food bowl of the world. Yes, it is very much likely, very much possible, why not? So, but then, can the policymakers, can the farmers, can the industry, can all of us join together with a single cause that we will take agriculture to its next level sustainably, and while making sure that farmer is the biggest beneficiary of agriculture and then all others. So with him, I think is a global citizen of substance who not only came out with the technology, but I think his second most important thing for me after the policy is stewardship. I think the kind of stewardship he did for the entire technology was also great. Because to have a technology is one part, but to steward it in a manner that it is used to the max is equally important. So that was another thing that for me he has done that. There was this reference to Dr. Leonard Page from IFAD, who said that attention, policy, priority, and technology. So I think for us as a nation today, I would urge, especially from a policy point of view, I think as a nation we now need to be dynamic in our policy. I think we have enough to eat, so I don't see a challenge there. But the fact that we are having to stop our exports of our aspirations, export of rice, export of wheat, and then export of sugar, which is coming up shortly, that's not what the India possibly should be looking at this time. We should be looking at going all out in producing to the maximum and in making sure that we not only be the Vishwa Guru, but we also be the Vishwa Annapurna, if I may call it. We should also be that as a country. With these words, let me again offer my homage and my respect to his legacy. And may all of us follow his principles of science, stewardship, and advocacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now request Dr. M.J. Saxena, former MD, Ayurved Limited, to share his valuable insights.
Good evening, everybody. We all have assembled here to remember Professor Swaminathan And when it comes to remembering anybody, everyone gets the different thoughts, different memories, and different memory hooks which connects you and the time you spend with the great person. The year was 1996. India was to host World Poultry Congress for the first time outside Europe and America. And India was the host country. Professor Dr. B.V. Rao died on 26 January in United States. And then it became how this event of international importance is going to be organized. As you know, that it becomes very difficult when the leader is not there and the team gets into a different path, and Deve Gowda Sahab was the Prime Minister. The matter went up to him. Either the world body will withdraw or we have to get our act together. And at that time, Professor Swaminathan was requested that this is the cause for the country. Please take up to lead the group of veterinarians, poultry industry, scientists, all the ICAR, all the veterinary universities. And there was the only one name, that is Dr. MS Swaminathan. At that time, in 6 months' time, it happened, the event happened in September. In those months, he brought such a great success for the country that India became on the world map of poultry. The people like Malviyaji, who was visionary, the people like Kurian, the people like B.V. Rao, the people like APJ, they always live. I had several chance meeting at the airport lounge with Dr. Swaminathan, and we used to talk about Vedic, Ayurveda, and all those traditional things. And once I asked him a question. Sir, you are called as the father of the Green Revolution. Who will be the second Swaminathan in the country? He smiled and he said, by the way, I don't know, Mr. Saxena, who are you? Are you an economist? Are you a scientist? Who you are? I said, sir, I am a simply Indian with a heart for India and from a very humble background. And my father was district supply officer, and I had seen the food scarcity in the country 66 onward. He said, my work, my students, my farmers, my fellow colleague, my student will lead this country, and you will not need second Swaminathan. The country will continue to progress. When I went to him in 2018, and that was he called us to hear about hydroponics technology. And after hearing everything, he said, okay, I will write a DO letter to all the state government, all the state secretaries, that this water conservation technology is one of the very good. And therefore, when I am remembering, there are several instances, and I feel you all will agree with me and support this, that real tribute to Dr. Swaminathan would be if Government of India awards him Bharat Ratna, which he deserved for several years. which he deserved. And we always were looking forward that this Republic Day announcement will come, announcement will come. While there are, it's a immortal. Dr. Swaminathan is immortal, not only for the country, but for the world, to show the path. How in the crisis period you can think of. Friends, again, as Chief Justice of India, former Chief Justice shared, agriculture is in deep crisis, deep crisis. Kindly think over it. It is not the occasion to talk about that. And therefore, I stop with this unfinished agenda of Professor Swaminathan was how to reduce the farmer distress, how to make agriculture truly sustainable, environment friendly, economy building, job creation for the country. So the agenda is still not finished. Rather, the burden is all on the young generation and the people who are here, who are experienced, to take the legacy of Professor Swaminathan to the global level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your insights. I would now request Mr. Rahul Mathur, National Marketing Head, IPL Biologicals, to give his imprint on the occasion.
Good evening, everyone. This is an occasion where we all have gathered here to pay our respect and honor the memory of legendary agricultural scientist, Dr. MS Swaminathan. And as we are hearing it from dignitaries, his contribution to the nation cannot be described in few sentences, few words, or even in some books. I think what he has contributed directly with the way his work speak is one piece, but I think a next chapter is what he has actually built up in this nation, the scientists that he has developed, the policies that his guidance has actually helped ministries or policymakers to develop. It has actually contributed, or it has actually impacted life of each and everyone. And I think this is something which we cannot repay, or we cannot ever forgive, and everybody should keep remembering these kind of learnings. In fact, he is very well known for as like father of green revolution, but he also coined the term like evergreen revolution. So, which actually emphasize when you are contributing something or you are developing something, over the period you actually need to review what you are doing, and as next phase, what further need to be done to take it to the new heights. And his focus was on the, from 70s onward, his focus was on like agriculture, sustainability, equality or resilience in agriculture, which looks very relevant nowadays. If we talk about sustainability, we know the side effects of excessive uses of agri-resources. But if we need to make sure that our future generation actually enjoy these resources, natural resources, we need to continue procuring or preserving the sustainable agriculture. And on behalf of IPL Biological, I like to reiterate, like, our president, Mr. Harsh Bhagchandga, he once met Dr. Swaminathan, and he very occasionally tell us that during his interaction, Dr. Swaminathan emphasized that the future is on how we actually preserve these natural resources, how we actually continue the sustainable agriculture approaches. And our business kind of support that, and as homage to Dr. Swaminathan, as commitment of IPL Biologicals for such cause, we would like to say that we will continue focusing on our core values, our policies, which actually promote sustainable agriculture. And whenever anything happens where we can actually step up and contribute for these kind of cause, we'll be always ready. Thanks everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. I would request the other speakers to kindly restrict their time to 2 to 3 minutes, since we are running short of time. I would now request Mr. R.K. Trivedi, Executive Director, National Seed Association of India, to give his insights.
Good afternoon, and respected dignitaries. In fact, on behalf of the entire Indian seed industry, not only Indian, I can say global seed industry. In fact, our seed industry is comprised of, I think, more than 800 seed companies, and then millions of the seed distributors, seed dealers. On behalf of all of them, we pay highest tribute to the Swaminathan, Professor Swaminathan ji. In fact, we call that he is a father of Indian green revolution, or father of Indian green agriculture. But I call that the seed industry, it came only after the green revolution. So for us, he is a Pitamaha. We call grandfather of the seed industry. He is a Pitamaha of the seed industry. And definitely, I think most of the people who are associated in the seed industry, they may be remembering that after the green revolution, the seed industry started emerging, whether it is a National Seeds Corporation or State Farm Corporation of India, or in the private sector. People remember some of our pioneer old seed industry persons like Dr. Barwale, Dr. Mahendra, Chopra and all those things. They took the seed on their bicycle and started selling. That was the starting, and that all they got impetus. They all got prerna only from the Dr. MS Swaminathan. So in fact, the seed industry started functioning only after the green revolution, and for that we really highly pay tribute to the Swaminathan ji. In a personal, I have few interaction with the Swaminathan Sahab, and the first was in the 1987 when I joined in the Ministry of Agriculture, and I was deputed to Philippines, IRRI, to do a hybrid rice seed production training course. And at that time, Dr. Subhas Mani, he was the plan bidder in Panagar University. He was a student of the Swaminathan Sahab. In 87, at that time, Swaminathan ji was the Director General of IRRI. So he just went to said Trivedi, because we were two only from India. He said, let us go to the Swaminathan Sahab. He was my teacher in IRI. So I said, now how he will be remembering you? But you won't believe it. When we both went, he remembered, oh, Subhas Mani, you are here, Subhas. And then he called us for the dinner in DG's Bangalore, in Las Baños, Philippines. So see how much he was remembering to the students also. And another occasion I remember, in fact, he was a chairman of the Farmers Commission, and Dr. R.B. Singh Saab was there as secretary. So in fact, at that time in 2005, the PPV and FA authority was to be established, and Dr. Professor Nagarajan was the chairman, and I was the registrar there. So we had to see the place where to start functioning. So I remember Dr. Nagarajan said, let us go to the Swaminathan Sahab. And in fact, we went to, he said, we have completed our Farmers Commission's report, and all these are companies, you can come and sit in this place where we were functioning. And in fact, the place where the PPVNFR authority is presently working, now they have a new building also. That was the place where Dr. Swaminathan said, you start sitting here so that you can start functioning as a PPVNFR authority. So in fact, he was, at many occasions, and I think lot of the people who are associated in the agriculture and light sector, they have at some point of time interaction or some of the blessings from the Swaminathan Sahab. And as far as the seed industry concerned, I remember our National Seed Association of India. In fact, we had started Seed Congress, Indian Seed Congress, and the blessings for that Seed Congress. In fact, the first Seed Congress, at that time, Professor Swaminathan was there who blessed us for that Indian Seed Congress. So I think from the entire seed industry side, we can never forget the contribution of Professor Swaminathan, and he will be always in the heart of our every person who is associated with the agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now request Dr. Parsuraman, scientist MSSRF, who has joined us online to share his insights.
You're hearing?
Yes,
hello,
sir.
you're hearing?
Yeah, you're audible, sir.
Yeah. Very good evening. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I want to give my respect to my godfather. I know all close associate in Delhi, professors. I have working with professors last 35 years. People always said, when he came back to 1988 from Philippines, International Rice Research Institute. After retirement, what Professor Swaminathan is going to do? But he's a visionary. What the legacy, what the whatever research happened, what they call green revolution, the really green revolution started MS Swaminathan Foundation, Take Forward the Farmer. Such a one day is not enough to talk about Professor Swaminathan. And I'm of great opportunity, thanks to God, thanks to my parents, and it ever to Professor. My life, I don't know, because I lost great personality. It's a living God, not only for me, anyone as a small or rich or any political head of the country, or so many people. I traveled together last 35 years. With him, the life was take the farmer, particularly love for the farmer, love to the children. It's a great, great human being. It's a very great human being. I traveled so many countries with him, and everyone come to the airport and meet him, so many people, but he always smile, never say no to anybody. No to anybody. Because I am a personal secretary, whatever you people call, but the great personality, it's a great human being, as what you call Annadada. It's a really God giving a food for everybody. It's the last, always ask first things, you have finished the lunch, you have eaten something. That the kindness, the children or fisherman or farmer or foreigner or rich people, whatever, it cannot, the way is taking a hand, President of India are the same, our working with a small sweeper type of people, everybody the same respect. That kind of personality, I don't know, no one replaced Professor Swaminathan, but it's a legacy. You always think about agriculture, to take forward only the young people. Our friends already talked, our former Chief Justice Ashok Dalwai ji, our other good people with the Professor memory. The last, you always want to go two places. One is in Delhi IIM, and another one is in Pondicherry program called Bio Village. This place is we want to go, but unfortunately the age fact we are not take forward. But we are all together It's a legacy. Is what the farmer is going to benefit. That's in the Farmers Commission report. I came last month, attended a meeting, FAO International Treaty meeting. I said I went and attended this meeting. How the farmers benefit, farmers' rights, PPRF organist. I said Mapatra become a chairman. He said is a correct person, do something for reward and recognition for the farmer. His heart the day I came and meet 11th, after last 15 function over, I came and met on Friday. He asked me this question: how is the farmers given some award, PPRF? I told all the recognition is given. I show the warrior person is the person got the millet. So happy. Such a loving person. I don't know who will be replaced, but it's a living God. Maybe blessing for all of us to take forward. Maybe continue more young people, bring Professor Swaminathan again, the agriculture sector. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I would now request Dr. T. Jankiram, Vice Chancellor, YSR Horticulture University, to share his deliberations. Sir, I would also request you to kindly restrict yourself for 2 to 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Respected Dr. K.L. Chedda sir and all other dignitaries. At the outset, I am thankful to Dr. Khan sir for giving me this opportunity. On my own behalf and on behalf of all the staff of Dr. YSR Horticulture University, Venkataraman Gudem, Andhra Pradesh, pay our tributes, the living legend, Professor Monkombu Sambasivan Swaminathan ji. I just quickly would like to share a few of my memories with the great legend. When I was doing my MSc PhD at IRI, the seat of Green Revolution, it was always a very delightful experience to have his presence during our convocations. We used to rush to him, and he always used to remember the names of the students. That is his greatness. And we used to spend and remember his meeting with him in the lawns of Dr. B.P. Pal Auditorium, IRI. And when I was head of the division, the Floriculture Landscaping IRI, when he visited IRI, we requested him to visit our floriculture farm, particularly when all the roses were in bloom. And we were all excited, our staff and students, waiting to receive him. But there was a downpour, and we all worried whether Professor Swaminathan ji will be visiting our farm. But somewhere we saw a white ambassador car is approaching towards our fields. And really, all we were, the staff and students were extremely benefited by his blessings. And when I wrote one of the first books on the introductory turf grass management, I approached Parshuraman ji for requesting his preface, and which he readily agreed. And the copy, first copy I presented him, and he blessed me with his signature. And that I kept as a, it will be a very, souvenir for me in my life. And recently, at our Dr. YSR Horticulture University, when we decided to have the BP Paul Rose Garden of having more than 250 varieties, again, Dr. Swaminathan sir inspired our students and staff with his inaugural blessings during the inaugural program of this Dr. BP Paul Rose Garden at our university. And in his memory, we also planted the MS Swaminathan rose and another variety, jewel of Monkombo. And lastly, it is always a great memory to cherish. And I just came to know that Dr. Swaminathan sir was staying in the Habitat Center. And I told my wife, I will take you to Dr. Swaminathan sir and we'll meet him. And I think that was a great moment for us. And he was very kind and affectionate in his reception and blessed us, my wife, Srimati Ushasri. And today, I salute to a great legend whose memories shall be cherished in my spirit forever. And I pay my respects and tribute to the living legend, Professor Swaminathan sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your valuable inspirations for him. I would now request Dr. K. Prathapan, Honorable Vice Chancellor, D.Y. Patil Agriculture and Technical University, to share his valuable insights. Sir, kindly requested to restrict yourself for 2 minutes.
So, ma'am, good evening to all present over there as well as listening online. I too pray Almighty as well pranam on behalf of my D.Y. Patil Agriculture and Technical University, Kolhapur, Maharashtra. He was my mentor and father-like figure to me. Though his roots are from Kerala, he born in Kumbakonam, Tanchu, the state where I am also from. I am blessed with his support as well as guidance as my mentor while I was serving as the National Horticulture Mission Director of Kerala during 2007 to 17. Sir came many times to Kerala, especially for formulating the package for Kuttanad as well as Idukki, for the upliftment of farmers in Alapi, in Pathanamthitta and Kottayam district, 3 districts where the lands are below mean sea level, and he prepared the Kuttanad package. You know, even at 80s, at old age, he traveled all over that ABC and Rani Chitra canal of Kuttanad package area, in the backwater area in speedboat, and I was also traveling all with him. Still I remember it a green memory. And he developed the Kuttanad package for the upliftment of the farmers in that area. As well, he developed the package for Idukki, the high range area where the marginal and small farmers are living. The second memory I have with him is the Tadava Convention for the sustainable development of farmers, especially small and marginal farmers. Always his heart beaten for the small and marginal farmers. That is why Mr. Parasuraman told that professor means none other than Swaminathan to farmers in South. Another important thing is his contribution to empowering and uplifting women group of farmers as well as the gender equality. He is the first person to postulate that concept to governments. And last, I still remember Swaminathan sir was there in the best farmer selection of Government of Kerala. I was a member in that selection committee. I worked with him for that purpose. So these are all my close association with my professor and Swaminathan sir, my mentor and my guru. I especially thank Mr. M.J. Khan and entire team of Agriculture Today to organize such an event and allowing me to join to pay my tribute and my university's tribute to the great legend, to a great soul. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now call upon Ms. Anjana Nair to extend her vote of thanks. She is Group Editor, Agriculture Today Group.
Good evening, everyone. I have been working with Agriculture Today for the past 15 years. And in that entire time, I had the chance to meet him only once. And that was enough to last a memory of for a lifetime for me. My association with him has been for a day. And that one single day was enough for me to understand how kind-hearted and how humble a person he was. So, MS Swaminathan sir was a legend, and it was an honor knowing him. We are all indebted to him as we all have reaped the benefits of his exemplary work. I'm happy that we could organize a memorial in honor of him, and frankly, I'm overwhelmed at the responses that we have received so far. I thank all the dignitaries for their presence here and the AT and ICFA team to have organized such an impactful event at such a short notice. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now request all the guests to join us for the tea, and the ones who want to have an open discussions, the session is free for them. Thank you very much, and I'm very grateful and delightful to offer the tea and extend thanks to you. Thank you, sir. Everybody is requested to offer the tribute to Dr. Swaminathan, sir. Please. Yes. Yes, sir. Everybody is requested to join us for the tea. Kindly